more, not too many, but a few more lessons to get through before the end of this semester. It's still not, I guess, completely confirmed that we're coming back next week, although I thought we were. So I'm going to continue with the employment cycle here for a short period of time, not so long, but we need to get to the second part, so we need to get the first part finished. Last class, we talked about the relationship between the job analysis and the job description. Job analysis is the research that you do from the employees to figure out what's what tasks, what responsibilities, and what kind of safety issues might come with a job, and also to figure out how much compensation will be. Although compensation means salary, although most jobs in Australia have it outlined online what the expected salary for a certain job is. So the job description itself is the result, and the job description ends up being something that is required when you offer a job. So an employee who comes to an interview for a job will expect to see some kind of job description, so they have a sense of what they're supposed to be doing. The job design is about the requirements and the qualifications necessary for the job, which are some of which are part of the job description, but some of which are for the human resource department itself, in order for them to understand what it is they're looking for in an applicant. Okay, so that is the first set of things. Maybe I'll go over, I'm in page 104, chapter 9, the employment cycle. Questions answered by a well-designed job description. If you close your eyes, you can imagine salary. What's the purpose of the job? What is the goal of the person in the job? Why does it exist? How does it fit with the other employees? How does it relate to other jobs? What are the expectations for the employee? I think that's KPIs, right? What skills are needed? What particular managerial elements are involved? What needs to be managed for the employee? Not just what do they do. Some things they can have decision-making power, as we saw in the organizational structures. Do they need to have human relations skills? So what level do they need to be? Is it customer service? Is it a very high level? But if you're working in a factory, it's a very low level. What is the structure of the job, procedures and goals? Again, it's a bit repetitive. What are the boundaries of the employee's authority to make decisions, which is also about supervision? What are the most difficult parts of the job? What kind of challenges can happen, and how to mitigate problems that can come from that? So I think that's fair, but you should just know what's going to be in the job description. Recruitment and selection, that is the topic for today. So recruitment, to recruit means to go out and find employees. So once you have your job description and you understand what it is you're looking for, you've got to go out and figure out how to find those people. Now there are job agencies, you probably see them around. Companies have things called headhunters. They look for managers. Sometimes they try to steal them from other companies. Recruitment means to go out and find employees. I think the example I gave last time was pilots, right? If you're going to go look for pilots, where would you look for them? There's not that many places that are training pilots, so it's a very limited group of places, or limited hunting you have to do. You just have to recruit at the one place you can recruit. The same might be true for universities who have hotel management programs or specialist programs of any kind. So universities are a place to look for recruits. If you're looking for a sushi chef, maybe you need to recruit in another country. Maybe you need to send out an ad saying, hey, look, great opportunity in Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh City, up-and-coming city, great place to live, exciting times. You can be a sushi chef for this salary in Vietnam. So also, I mean, some schools, they try to recruit teachers from overseas, and when they recruit teachers, they usually, the teachers find that they can get better jobs when they arrive first without being recruited. But most multinational companies are looking for people who are flexible, who are willing to move from country to country. So that's another concern for recruitment. But then you have the basic recruitment. It says on the shop, Can Twin. They need someone to work in the shop, and they'll just put an advertisement in the window of the shop, and if that's your dream, you can go in there and apply for the job. The staff selection process is where a business matches people to its operational requirements. Recruitment involves advertising positions that cost money, so it's a cost, attracting applicants, and conducting interviews in order to select the most suitable employee. This process firstly involves a manager or a recruitment officer getting applications, or what is called resumes, from the applicants, and then they select a set of people who might be able to work well with the company. These are, applicants are contacted and invited to an interview session. Not everyone who applies gets interviewed, so they call this a short list. So you have a long list of 100 people who want a job, and you'll choose 10 people to interview. So recruitment and selection. First, there are different sources for recruitment, and this actually goes back to management too, is that if you're looking to hire a manager, let's say for academics in a school, you have a choice. You can hire somebody who is familiar with the school and knows all the people in the school and already has good or whatever kinds of relationships, and promote them to the higher level. That's called internal recruitment. Usually, internal recruitment is used when things in the company are going quite well and you don't really want to change course. And another option for this kind of, especially in a management position, would be external recruitment. External recruitment means going and headhunting or trying to find some management from outside of the company, someone with experience in the industry. And this usually signals to the staff that a change is coming, that there's some kind of change, that things are going to in a different direction. So you can signal to employees for recruitment. Now, lower level employees, most of it's external recruitment because you're not promoting somebody. So this is mostly for employees who are going to be moving up the chain of command. Sources of recruitment. Internal recruitment is cheaper, especially if you knew that you thought this person was management material from a long, over a long period of time. Then there's really not much to think about, except they might not accept the offer. Managers already know the applicants and know their skills and know their work habits. Disadvantages. They have to fill the position of the person who was given the job. So if they do their job very well, then you have to find someone else who's going to fill their job. And limited choice of applicants. So it's limited to people who are working already in the company. As I said before, you're signaling a change of direction for the company or maybe culture of the company if you hire externally. So here it says, can recruit people with fresh ideas. Can pick from a bigger pool of applicants, have more choice, but they're unknown factors. Cost money, you have to recruit, you have to get them interested, you have to organize the interviews, you have to go through the process of training them. It's going to be a lot of money. And they have to spend a considerable amount of time trying to get the new recruit ready. up to speed, and it says about the LSO. I don't know why it says LSO. LSO is a large-scale organization. It's not only for large-scale organizations, so that seems like this guy copied and pasted. Did you know that this guy, Jason Hinton, copies and pastes? I've seen it. So then you get to the point where you've got a list of people. So here's the process of recruitment. You receive the applications and resumes. You set a short list for interviews. Then you check the references, and maybe if they have some employment tests, like if they're a pilot, you know, you have them work on, see which kind of planes that they're familiar with on a video game before they fly a plane, or a virtual reality. And then you select, and then that leads to having to get them into the organization. So there are steps here. To attract applicants from external sources, a business may use a recruitment agency or place an advertisement. Where can you place an advertisement? Online? Some magazines like Moabam. I'm sure there's an employment magazine that I don't know about that you can advertise jobs. Online, of course. There used to be something called Craigslist. That was a place where I saw jobs. So some of it is not that expensive to do. So here's Vietnam Craigslist. And it says jobs, apartments, community, housing, jobs, education, teacher needed, teach from home. We need a teacher in Patois, I found. I guess there's a lot of people out there right now, private tutors. I haven't checked this for a long time, but I bet it's kind of been very busy. This is all, well, it's not as busy as you would think. There's only a few offers in the last week or two. So if that's your thing, you might have other jobs. You want to work for an engineering company. There's a lot of construction here. No results for engineering. They're not looking for people here. Marketing and PR. A lot of, looks like a lot of Japanese companies here. Ad specialist for Facebook and Instagram. So, I don't know, that's one example of where you could try to recruit. Or you could hire somebody and outsource and get an agency to look for your human resources. The job ad may be online or in the classifieds of a newspaper. Job advertisements need to provide the following information to potential candidates. So, English teacher, job status, permanent, full-time. There's a contract, how long? 2 years, 1 year, part-time. What is the pay rate? Everybody wants to know. Although when you're in an interview, you don't ask about that. The required skills, knowledge, and experience. Put experience in there too. Skills, knowledge, and experience may be split into essential and desired. That means that some things you really need to have, and some things it would be great if you had them, but if you don't, it's not the end of the process for you. You might be able to learn them, those skills. Contact details. Obviously, you have to be able to be contacted. And an application closing date. What is the final date for people to try to enter an application? Layla is a human resource manager and in the early stages of the recruitment process for an accounting position at her organization. She's reviewing applications to choose a set of applicants who can be called in for interviews. At this stage, she reads each resume and identifies which skills and knowledge requirements that are highlighted in the job description. Following this matching process, the applicant with the most common skills and knowledge to satisfy the needs of the job is contacted. Okay, we know that. There's a lot of laws in Australia about discrimination, so you have to be very careful that you don't discriminate against people who have children, who are unmarried, of course the obvious one, sexism, racism. So the law in Australia is quite strict about fairness in the process. process of applications. So if you can prove that you have the qualifications and skills and they didn't offer you an interview, you might have a case. Resumes. Resume is another word for CV. Some countries they use CV. It's also something that would be the same pretty much as an application, except for you make it yourself. And you make your own design of a resume to try to show off your skills. Whereas an application is something that's got a formal, name, address, telephone number, how many years you work. You don't get to personalize it. You don't get to show yourself as much. Resumes are a source of information for recruiters. A resume contains vital information about the applicant. This might include personal details such as age, gender, marital status, though these are not legally required because those are the things that you have to worry about discrimination. So I don't think they should be included. And other information such as academic qualifications, work experience, and the achievements they have reached. A resume is the primary information source about personality, which is different from an application, capabilities, and strength of an applicant. I don't think we need to talk about it again, except just to say that number 6 on page 107 is also important. Referees. That's not soccer referees. Those are actually, in American English, we would call them references. These are people that you worked for in the past who can talk about you and give more information in a direct way to someone who's in the HR department. The interviews are also extremely dangerous for the company because the wrong kind of interview question can lead to a discrimination case. So really, they cannot ask any kind of questions that are personal. There's a lot of limits to that. Interviews, page 107. The interview is usually a personal meeting between the applicant, but now it's going to be on Zoom, or interviewee, and the recruitment officer or interviewer. During this session, the interviewer finds out information by asking relevant questions, relevant to the job. Questions need to be relevant to the job description and might ask the interviewee how they would handle specific situations. So what would happen if the plane was going down and you were this is what was happening in the controls. What would you do if a customer complained about their coffee? What would you do if you ran out of cups in the middle of the day? So they would ask you how you would handle specific work situations. The interviewer must not highlight the discriminatory in their interview technique and the questions that are asked. The requirements of anti-discrimination in EEO, which we'll come to later, EEO, which is Equal Employment Opportunity laws, are covered earlier in this book. No, it's later. Chad is preparing to conduct an interview to appoint a new accountant to Chad's Accountants, a popular accounting firm in the Goldfields. It is a place in Australia, I think. It is important that the new recruit be competent. Okay, they can do the job. Self-driven, don't have to motivate them. Time manager, they know what to do first, second, third, and not waste time. And a team player, not try to win against the other employees. Some other questions they might ask would be, perhaps, why would you like to join the company? That's always a loaded question. Why do you choose our company? Imagine you're getting a job at like McDonald's. Why do you want to work at McDonald's? Because I need a job. It's not good enough, right? I know that McDonald's is an international company and that if I work in McDonald's, I would learn how to provide service and be trained in a way that would make my skills international standard, and therefore I think McDonald's is a great idea and it would be a great experience for me. That's how you answer that question. What will you offer the company? Okay, I mean, you're offering your time and services. Again, it's a very general question. Describe a situation showing your experience in accounting. I guess that's something for Mr. Steven to answer. What are your time management strengths? I get everything done on time. What do you see as a weakness? That's another loaded question. What do you see as a weakness and how do you overcome this? They love to ask this question about weaknesses. What's my weakness? Chocolate. And I just try to be strong. Tell me about a situation where you have worked in a team. Teamwork, describe a complex problem that you solved using accounting software. Maybe this is something to show off the knowledge that they have of how to work online or use the software. And what's your career goals? What would you like to do in the future? I would like to be the best accountant in the history of the world. I want to out-account everyone else, but that means you're not a team player. Oh, you're out. So, what is your aim in your career? I want to, you have to think about the company you're working for. If you're working for, a flat organization, they're going to be, you're going to have to be thinking about, I want to work in a place where I feel good to come to work every day. And I feel like the people I work with are, like another family, belonging. If you're in another kind of company that's very hierarchical, you would maybe say that you wanted to reach the highest potential that you can reach in the organization. Maybe indicating that you're ambitious, but not saying it too strongly. So those are kinds of interview questions. Referees. The references, as they say in the US, are people who, it says, this important stage of the recruiting process involves contacting the references who are willing to speak about the interviewee. This allows the interviewer to ask questions of someone who has worked with the interviewee in some previous capacity. I will give an example. I had a school in 2012. It's a long time now. I had a school. I was a partner. I was like a 35% partner, and it should have been successful, but we had some problems between the partners. But that's neither here nor there. I was the academic director of that organization, and I needed to work. Like, I worked here at that time, so I wasn't full-time over there. After my work here, I would go over there and help to, I didn't need to be there as it was growing every second. We had time. We had a year to grow it. But I needed a manager. I needed someone who was like a right-hand person for me to have their, a manager who was there all the time. I ran into a guy that I used to work for in 2004. So he was the manager of a school called VATC in 2004. And he was a great guy. I really liked him, and working with him was great. And I ran into him at this place called Melior Business School. Melior. It's out of business now, ironically. And he was working there as, he was like an assistant manager or something, or a marketing guy. And I said, how's it going? I asked him how he's doing. He said, he's okay. Do you like this job? He's like, man, I don't know, it's some problems. So I wanted to recruit him to be my manager because he wasn't really happy at that Melior Business School. So I knew him, but I still needed to do the process, right? So I had the interview, and in his resume, he had the phone number of this business school. And I found out from him in the interview that he was passed over in a promotion. So he was supposed to end up in the manager, a manager left, he was supposed to move up, and they hired someone external, remember, external, they put this on the external recruitment. They externally recruited someone who had no experience in the company, and this guy was really good, and they made him train her for the job. So not only does he not get the job or the raise or the money from a higher position, but he has to train the person who's going to get the position that he thought that he was supposed to get. So that is a slap in the face. So I understood what happened. Okay, so I took it and I called the boss of the business school and said, hey, hi, I'm thinking about hiring this guy, and I wonder what how would you evaluate his performance? And that manager of the business school was actually, you could kind of feel the energy of that guy was not really, friendly. And somewhere in the comments, he said that his ex-employee, or my future employee, was not a team player. So I said, okay, that's fine. And I think that's a difficult thing to say about somebody. I mean, you don't want to give bad references to people, but that is negative in some context. But in my context, it's not negative. So I just said to him, well, that's great, because I want someone who takes the lead. I don't really need a team player. I need a manager. Thanks. So for the most part, everything worked out, except for my other Vietnamese partners tried to expand to Hanoi too quickly. But he turned out to be a solid employee and a good decision maker, which is what I wanted. I didn't want someone who was just like a follower. I wanted someone who was a leader. So a team player for me meant that he doesn't just follow whatever. He has his own opinions, which is great. I want someone to have their own opinions. So I'm glad I made that reference call, and it balanced my decision. It made my decision easier. Page 108. After you have shortlisted a group of people who may be potential hires for you, you might also, after checking references, offer them some employment tests. They have a lot of tests now. There's a lot of psychological tests. America is a drag, They have a lot of, they'll check your Facebook. I think that should be illegal. They check your social media to see what that should be discrimination. I think what I post on social media is not the business of my employer, nor should it, nobody knows what context that you post something. They don't know why. They don't know what's the purpose of what you're, if it's funny to some of your friends, and for other people, they don't understand it, Anyway, there are various employment tests that are being used now by companies, including psychological tests. Written tests that evaluate an individual's skills and knowledge, that makes sense, but personality also. Now, maybe personality tests can be useful in some contexts, like police work. You don't want to have someone who's crazy in the police force and give them a gun. There are many arguments for and against the use of such tests, and one concern is that they do not necessarily indicate how well an employee will perform when they're actually in the job role. Another type of test is a simulation, so you have some pilot test again, where the applicant must show how they would react in a specific situation or for a task. This type of test should be given this test should give an indication of how the individual might perform their job or under pressure, or of course they cost money to do these employment tests. Some people are agencies who get paid a lot of money, and it's not really even maybe for sure that the test is giving the right information. So references, employment tests, and finally today the selection process. Deciding which candidate should get the job can be difficult. If it's a decision that has a substantial impact on a business and may involve people with similar skills and experience, how do you choose? Decisions must be made on the merit of what is best for the business. The process, as is shown in figure 9.4, could be used to make the decision. So screen out unsuitable applicants, that means make a short list, that's number 2. Select the top candidate or candidates, see, they have the order wrong. Great job, editor. Conduct the interview, select the top candidate or 2 candidates, then contact their references, and then notify successful and unsuccessful candidates who reach the final stage. I don't think they always notify everyone. Mostly they notify the people who make it to the later stages. So that's really all I wanted to do today. I am running around. This video is pretty good support for, it has good notes for advantages and disadvantages of internal and external recruiting, although this guy talks way too fast, so I think I would use it for notes. How can you recruit? That's a good one. So different methods of where you can look for staff.
Quite a fit for that particular job. You actually keep, which is someone that specialises in recruitment, getting there.
So advertisements, agencies, professional associations. Don't forget universities and trade schools. So this can also serve as good notes. I think if you use these as notes to follow up on the video today, then this also talks about what happens if the selection process goes poorly and the results for the company. If you do it wrong, you waste money and time of everybody, and it's not easy to get rid of staff that are inappropriate for your company, although you have a training period, probation period. All right, so I'm just going to include this video with this video, and then you have 2 videos to review. I hope you come back next week. Have a nice day, guys.